live. It says we are live. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. It is the last Shabbat of June, last day of June. It's the last Shabbat of Pride, the last day of Pride. It's hard to believe that Pride is over already. Well, it's not. We still have today. But yeah, it's an amazing day. A little warm for my taste, but beautiful, beautiful day. We are live here. We have a guest speaker. We have an oneg this evening. So still time to get here if you want some yummy food. I have it on good authority that it is, in fact, very yummy. And so still got time. You still got time. But it is Friday night. It is Erev Shabbat. And Lisa, do you want to light candles? I'd ask you, Dennis, but I can't trust you. So
He can't hear you either.
I'm not saying anything worth hearing.
Can you read the English first and then the prayer, or just?
We read something over here, either this one or this one, then we do the prayer, then we do the English.
Oh, okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. All right. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you. All right, friends. Let's turn to page 6. Page 6 will have a responsive reading. Page 6. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May you welcome all their cares and burden, thanks express nourishment.
May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May special goodness and love not restrain.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May
May
the
the synagogue be long the doorway of literature and reading for life.
All right, let's jump ahead to page 20. A little song, not a little song, but a song. A liturgical piyut, a liturgical poem from Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz from the mystical city of Sfat. As we welcome Shabbat, we'll continue with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi ligrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi ligrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'litila, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor ha'bracha, merosh mikedem ne'esucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzi mitoch afecha, rav lahak shevet yemecha b'cha, v'hu yachamol alai chemla, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, hitna ari me'afar kumi, lifshi bigdei tifartei chami, al yad b'nishai beit halachmi, korva el nafshi gehala, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitori, Kiva Orekumi Ori, Shir Daberi, Kivod Adonai Alai Nigla, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela, Lo Tevoshi Velo Tikomi, Mahatish Tochachi Matehemi, Mahyechesu Aniyehe Ami, Benihi Natair Altila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela, Vahayu L'Shimsa Shohosaich, V'rahachaku Komevalayich, Yasis Alayich Elohayich, Kihim Soschahatan Al Kala, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela, Yamin Usmol Tifrotzi, V'et Adonai Ta'aritzi, Al Yanish Ben Partzi, V'nihi Smecha V'nagila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela, Bohi L'Shalom Ateret Bala, Gam B'Simcha Ufsola, Toch Emunei Am Segula, Bohi Chala, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela. Page 22, let's read some verses from Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Let's read the outdented paragraph together. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With the 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadik katamar yifrach, ke'erez balvanot yiskeh shetulin beveit Adonai bechatrot Eloheinu Yafrichu. O Jinuvun B'Seifa, Deshenim Bera'ananim, Yiyu Lehagid, Ki Ashar Adonai, Suri Velo Avlatabo. Page 24, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi melech malachei amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have welcomed Shabbat. We have received Shabbat, as it were, and we are now ready for the evening service, the Arvit service. I'll ask everyone, please rise, page 146, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. May be seated. Let's read together on page 147. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed are the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMa'ariv HaRavim. Page 148, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ata, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu, B'shochteinu uvkumeinu, Nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'mitzvotecha, Li'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayinu, V'yorech yameinu, V'yorech yameinu, U'bahem nehegeh, Yomam v'layla, Yomam v'layla. V'ahabatecha tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher Elohi mitzavecha, hayom al levapecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlektecha b'derech, uv'shokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtachtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 151, let's read responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. When will redemption come? Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
So we celebrate the Pledge of Freedom.
Top of page 152. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh, no ratzilot, no seifele, malchutecha ra'u banecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, zeili anu v'yamru, Adonai imoch leolam va'ed, v'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Page 153, top 2 lines of Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Let's read that paragraph together in English. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft, evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, Aporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. Page 154 at the top, verses from the book of Exodus. V'shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We are on page 155, which is the beginning of the Amidah, the central prayer of the evening service. We'll chant 155, 156, and 157 together, and then we'll go silently until the end of the Amidah. And during that time, you can read, complete your prayer in the Hebrew, you can read the English translations, or you can offer up your own meditative prayer during that time. We're going to begin together on 155, and I'll ask everyone please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach u'v'yami tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach Ufi agiti vatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Ha'anora, El Elyon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, Dekonei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'megi Goel Hinei B'neihem, Leman Shmo B'ahava, Melech Ozer Yoshia U'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, Yitzhak Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayim eti Matarav LaHoshia, Morid HaTahal, Mechaker Chaim Bechesed, Mechayim Emin Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'ofech Oholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emnato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha V'Gevuro, Umidom Melach, Melech Nemit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ametim. So completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We are going to jump ahead to page 160, and let's read this paragraph together, paragraph in the middle of the page. Page 160. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 163, a few lines about gratitude and thanksgiving, Hoda'ah. Top of page 163. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and achieve, the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. And let's conclude our Amidah on 164 with the prayer for peace. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Praise are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. You jump ahead to page 253, one of our many prayers for healing. In the middle of the page, it is Mishaberach. And if you have someone who needs a little bit of extra healing this Shabbat, keep them in your thoughts and close to your heart as we prepare for Mishaberach. Mishaberach avoteinu mikor habracha le'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imoteinu mikor habracha la'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Pages 258, 259, prayers of our community. Mr. President, how about the prayer for our congregation?
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levatcha b'yirah na'avod. Marilyn, how about the prayer for our country?
Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in dark.
Shalu Shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayu Hovayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzor Yisrael V'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Tzmichat Ulatenu. Hagein Aleha Biavrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha V'amiktecha, L'rasheha Sareha V'yotzeha. V'takneim Be'etzah Tova Milfanecha. V'natata Shalom Ba'aretz V'simchat Olam Liyashveha. V'namar Amen. Dennis, how about on the bottom of 259 in English?
Is that 269?
259.
Goodness. You're right there.
We're waiting.
I'm getting.
Okay.
O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fulfillment of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen. All right, friends. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Double portion this week. 2 for 1. Chukat and Balak. All right. Chukat comes from the word chok, and a chok is a mitzvah that has no rational basis. Right? We could think about it. We could try to figure out one. But what it all boils down to is that God says this is what we should do and this is what we do. Prime example is kashrut. And the example that the Torah gives this week, which is the para aduma, the red heifer, in which you take a heifer, a completely red heifer. No, I think it can have up to 2 black hairs. If it has 3 black hairs, it's disqualified. And you slaughter it, you burn it, you take its ashes and mix them in water. And when you sprinkle it on a person, they become ritually pure, because if they have touched a corpse, it's the only way you can become ritually pure again after you touch a corpse. The reason this is a chok is because the guy, or the guy who is doing the sprinkling becomes ritually impure when he sprinkles the water on someone else. All right, so it makes no sense. It's one of those laws that may or may not have had some rational basis 3,000 years ago, but it's been lost to us. And it's a sad parsha. Miriam dies, Moshe's confidant, his big sister, and when she dies, the well that has been following them on her merit dries up, and the people, as you know, whenever there's not the right food or not enough water, the people complain. Moshe and Aharon get angry at this, and God says, don't worry, go and speak to the rock, and the rock will bring forth water. Moshe calls the people Marim, rebels, and instead of speaking to the rock, he strikes it. The water comes, but God says to Moshe, Moshe and Aharon, because of their anger, they will not enter Eretz Yisrael. They will not enter the promised land. And they name that place Merivah, which means quarrel. Aharon also dies in this parsha. And before he dies, he names Eliezer, his son, to be the high priest. And after Aharon dies, the people mourn for 30 days. Near Yam Suf, the people complain that they have a lack of bread and water. And this time, the complaint was not as helpful as the previous one. So there is a plague of snakes that come and bite the people. When they repent, I think it's Eleazar, Moshe fashions a copper snake, and the people who look upon it are healed. And that's where our parsha ends. Balak is the story of a Moabite king who sends a prophet named Balaam to curse the children of Israel. And God forbids Balaam from doing this. And we get one of our most famous animal stories This week, the story of the donkey, the talking donkey. You thought only donkeys talked in Washington. But no, they're in our Torah. All right, 3 events happen. An angel appears before the donkey, but Balaam doesn't see the angel, but the donkey does. So the first time the angel steps in front of the donkey swerves off the road. The second time the angel appears, the donkey goes against a fence or a wall and crushes Balaam's foot to let him know something is going on. And the third time, the donkey just sits down in the middle of the road. And all 3 times, the donkey is beaten by Balaam, because why should this donkey do that? And then the donkey finally turns around and speaks and says, hey, you have been riding me for many, many years. Have I ever behaved this way? And if I didn't. And so when I behave this way, there's a pretty good reason why I'm behaving this way. Look at the angel in front of us. And then Balaam can see the angel. He sets out to curse Israel 3 times, and he can only say kind words. And the last time, he gives us the opening lines of Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu Halecha Yaakov, right? How beautiful or how nice are your tents. And the final time he goes to curse, he winds up giving a blessing, and he says that the Israelites will triumph over all of their enemies, including the Moabite king Balak. The Parsha ends at a place called Shittim, in which the Israelites decide that they're going to carouse with Moabite women. Pinchas, whose name shows up in next week's Parsha as the lead name, acts as a vigilante, and he chases after an Israelite who takes a Moabite princess into his tent to play canasta. A plague kills 24,000 Israelites before it is over. There are 3 positive mitzvot in Chukat, 6 positive in Balak, for a total of 9 mitzvot this week. And they're all positives. And that is your Torah portion in a nutshell. I can think of no better way than having our guest speaker tonight close out Pride Month for us. Andrew Schneider is the Executive Director of Fairness West Virginia. And since 2014, he has led the effort to advocate for effective lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender policy changes in West Virginia. He is a very, very busy person. Prior to joining Fairness, Andrew served for 7 years as the Executive Director of the ACLU in Connecticut, where he was a leader in successful state campaigns to end transgender civil rights, abolish the death penalty, and legalize medical marijuana. Before that, you were here at ACLU, and then you went to Connecticut. He was the Executive Director of the ACLU of West Virginia for 6 years. In 2007, he was the recipient of the West Virginia NAACP Freedom Award for leading the successful legislative effort to ban and combat racial profiling in our state. And so it is my great pleasure to ask my friend and an amazing individual to come up and give us a little talk tonight. Andrew Schneider. You can go up or you can stay down, whatever works for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to sit.
Okay. Thank you for that kind introduction. So I wanted to sort of give you a background about me personally. Full disclosure, I'm a gay Jew from New York. And, and I knew that I was different from a very early age. My first memory of having some kind of attraction to the same sex was when I was 4 years old at a sleepaway camp that my dad took me to as a camp doctor. And I remember having this, sort of strange epiphany, and I knew that it was different from others who were of my age group, and I kept it very private. I didn't feel like I could tell anyone about it. And so I continued to, grow up and live through my childhood, keeping the secret very close to the vest. And it was probably when I was in my teenage years, was my first encounter with someone who called me out on it. It was this psychiatrist that my dad sent me to when he thought that I was being a rebellious teen, someone who might be able to straighten me out. And I looked at it as punishment. So I would either not show up for my appointments at all, or I would show up late. And the psychiatrist quickly realized what was going on and understood the dynamic and quickly tried to address it. At one appointment that I showed up late for, he divulged that my dad asked whether I was showing up for my appointments on a regular basis and on time. And the psychiatrist mentioned that he told my dad that that was confidential information. So then I started to go and see this doctor regularly and faithfully and religiously. But my dad was very upset that someone he was paying good money for would not, share with him this information. So he very quickly cut off the funding for it. But I had one last appointment that made all the difference, because at the very end of the session, the doctor looks at me and he says, "Andrew, do you like girls?" And I didn't answer. And then he followed that with, "Do you like boys?" And again, I didn't answer, but I knew that he had this knowing look in his eye. And I wasn't able to come out, even though I grew up in liberal New York, right outside of New York City. I wasn't able to come out until I was 26. And when I did, when I was ready to address it, I had such self-loathing and insecurity that I was living in the city after college. I was living in my mom's place because I couldn't afford anything in New York on my own on an ACLU entry-level salary. And so I literally walked by the LGBTQ community center 5 or 6 times before walking in, because I was afraid. I was afraid of who I was. And when I finally did walk in, I joined for two sessions of this gay 20-something group that was my peer group. And I felt deeply uncomfortable with my peers because they were, engaging in gender bending endearments. They would call each other girlfriend. They would talk about Broadway show tunes, and this was all alien to me and made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel like this was my people, so to speak, even though it really was. And so I didn't know what to do. And I then decided I had to go to someone who knew my secret. That was the psychiatrist in Scarsdale, New York. So I took the commuter train back to Scarsdale, where I grew up. First of all, I set up the appointment with the doctor. And when I set the appointment up, I said, I need to talk to you and work through these issues I have. I think you're the only one who knows my secret of being gay. And he acknowledged that he did. And so at the appointment, we talked about it, and he said, I won't be able to see you again until you come out to your entire family. And that could have been a daunting prospect if, my family was going to, sort of, discard me and shut off communication. But he knew that my family was not like that. And I needed them. He said I needed them as my support network. And so very rapidly, I came out to the rest of my family. Everyone was fine with it. My dad was probably the most difficult. He thought that when I mentioned to him that I knew that I was gay since the age of 4, we had what we called mother's helpers at the time growing up, because both my parents worked, And these were college kids who would take care of us, would pick us up from school and so forth when we were very young. And when I was 4, the mother's helper that we had was this college student from Wisconsin, a guy named Chris, who just so happened to be gay himself. And so my dad assumed that Chris must have molested me, and that's why I was having these feelings. And I couldn't be gay. There's no way I could be gay. I'm his oldest son. That would be, something he couldn't fathom. And so I said, no, that didn't happen. He said, well, you're probably suppressing these feelings because I'm sure it was a traumatic situation. I said, Dad, this didn't happen. It was maybe you need to talk to a psychiatrist to work through these issues. I said, well, I am. It was Dr. Fields. Dr. Fields is not a good psychiatrist. So thankfully, my dad evolved over time. There was no way to convince him at that session, but the next morning in my office, I get a call from him, and my childhood nickname is Ange. My dad used to give us all of us, me and my 2 brothers, nicknames. And mine was Ange. And he calls me up. Ange, I just want to let you know that I love you, even if you were a turnip. And for my dad, when he could turn something into some sort of silly, silly metaphor, that was him demonstrating that he was going to work through this and try to come to a level of acceptance. And he ultimately did. So I was grateful for that. But I tell you this because I recently, I'm going to put a pin in the story I was about to tell you, which brings you to West Virginia and my most recent experience with Coach Huggins. But before I do that, I want to tell you how a gay Jew from New York could find happiness in West Virginia. So at a certain point, you could say I came out to West Virginia, but really it was West Virginia came out to me. And this was in 2001 when I was hired to be the director of the ACLU of West Virginia. I'd never been to the state before. And my mom had a very close friend who had family in Charleston, the Glassers. Some of you may know them. And put me in touch with them so that I have a place to stay while I look for my first apartment. So I'm driving down from Connecticut on a super foggy day in July of 2001, right after a thunderstorm where the fog is so thick that there's almost zero visibility because it's kind of sandwiched in these hollers. And I'm driving up Loudon Heights Road to the Glassers' house, but I'm not sure I'm going in the right direction. I've never been here before, and I'm terrible with directions. I'm geographically challenged. And so there's a car that's right behind me as I'm going 5 miles an hour, and I'm realizing that I need to pull over so that they can pass. But the car behind me doesn't pass. Instead, they pull up right behind me, and the driver gets out and walks up to my window and says, "Are you lost?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure exactly if I'm going the right direction." And he says, "Well, where are you headed?" And I mentioned the Glassers' house. And he says, "Oh, I know them. Why don't you follow me and I'll take you there?" Well, that was my very first West Virginia experience. And then that was quickly followed by the experience I had finding my first apartment, which was in this nondescript high-rise building called Terrace Park East, a block from the Capitol, where I was going to be doing a lot of work lobbying for the ACLU. And I move into this 5th floor apartment, and literally the entire floor of the apartment complex shows up to help me unpack. Now, if I'd come straight from New York City, that might have alarmed me because I think they're coming to take my stuff. But no, I went to a Southern school. I went to Washington Lee University. So I was already introduced to this Southern hospitality and this friendliness. And so I was already accustomed to it, and I embraced it. And I quickly got to know my immediate next door neighbor, who was this 70-year-old unreformed Southerner from the Old South. And she seemed to take a liking to me. So a couple days later, after this, move-in party, she clips out an article in the then Charleston Daily Mail introducing me as the new director of the ACLU and puts on my doormat. And then I don't see her for another 5 days. And on a Sunday afternoon, I'm walking out of my apartment and she greets me in the hallway. She says, "Sweetie, I was going to cook you real Southern breakfast, but I didn't know if you like bacon, eggs, sausage, biscuits, or gravy, or if you're a vegetarian or a bagel eater." So, okay, she must have read in the article that it was from New York City and figured I subsisted entirely on a diet of bagels. Now, while I love bagels, and it's hard to find really good ones here, I also happen to like Southern breakfast. So then I don't see her for another 10 days, and I'm coming home late from work on a Wednesday evening, late, like around 9 o'clock, and get out of the elevator. She's there in the hallway greeting me again. And she says, "Honey, can you help me with my typewriter? I don't know what's wrong with it." And I said, "I think you're asking the wrong person because I'm not the handiest guy in the world." And she says, "Why don't you please take a look at it? You might be able to help." So I go in her apartment. It's just a matter of plugging the cord in the socket. And then she says, "Why don't you stay for dinner?" Of course, this seemed like it was a ploy. So yeah, I said, "Sure, I'll stay for dinner." And all she can talk about at dinner is how much she hates the ACLU. At first, she accuses me of trying to kick God out of the classrooms. Then she tells me it bothers her to see black men with white women in the common pool area. Then she tells me that she hates feminists and she despises lesbians. So I think to myself, this is not someone I'm going to have a deep, long-lasting relationship with. And I politely thank her for dinner, and I start to make my way towards her door. Before I get very far, she tugs in the back of my shirt. "Andrew, do you know your neighbors, Larry and Michael?" "Yeah, I met them." "Well, they're lovers." Okay, figured that she was giving me some party gossip because that is, after all, the national pastime in West Virginia. But then as I start to make my way closer to her door, she tugs in the back of my shirt once more. "Andrew, are you gay?" And it take a few seconds to think that over. And then I realized she's a 70-year-old woman. She's not going to do me any harm. And so I said, "Yeah." And her eyes light up. "Really? Well, that's wonderful because I love gay men because they're so much like women." So while that's not exactly how I think of myself, if that was going to create some common ground, I was down with that. And so she ended up becoming like an adopted mother to me. She would look after my newspapers when I was traveling and on the road. She would, of course, share all of the, apartment gossip that came across her room, her apartment. And then she would even occasionally take care of me when I was sick. And yes, we had this, sort of, amicably adversarial relationship where she would rag me about every ACLU lawsuit that she saw advertised in the newspaper or written about in the newspaper. And, one point when I was, seeing a black man, I made every opportunity to introduce him to her. And so we had this sort of, tit for tat. But it was very sort of reflective of my experience in West Virginia. The fact that I might have differences with lots of people philosophically, personally, but there was this friendliness, this warmth, even this generosity of spirit that existed here that made me feel welcome. And also, I think I on my end, I developed, skills that were very important, listening skills, being able to hear people out, even if what they say is, offensive at first blush, because people can learn and can grow and can evolve. And so that brings me to my encounter with Coach Huggins. I was asked by the university to come and meet with him and talk about what we all know he said, which was, the F word on the radio. And what bothered me was when I was preparing for the meeting, a university official mentioned that in all the meetings that had already taken place with campus officials, LGBTQ people primarily on campus, was that he was trying to explain away what he did in using the anti-gay slur on a radio program by saying he didn't know that the microphone was on. And to me, that was very personal because I didn't come out until I was 26. I lost a good portion of my childhood not because I was bullied on the playground. I think hardly anyone knew that I was gay when I was younger. No one ever picked on me for it. But what kept me in the closet in liberal New York was people joking about gay people, making nasty jokes about gay people in my presence, not knowing that I was gay. People using the words, "that is so gay," as a pejorative, constantly. I saw a movie, when I was around college age called Philadelphia. Many of you probably saw it as well. There was one scene that resonated with me in that movie. That was where Tom Hanks, who plays the lawyer who is fired from his law firm for having AIDS. And his lawyer, who helps him to win the lawsuit, the discrimination lawsuit, is played by Denzel Washington. And Denzel Washington asked Tom Hanks on the stand what his relationship was like with his boss, played by Jason Robards, who's in the courtroom watching. And Tom Hanks describes the relationship as a good one. He says, I considered him my friend. I looked up to him. I had great respect for him. So Denzel Washington follows with, "So why did you ever come out to him then?" So, well, there was this incident 3 years ago, and the movie flashes back to this racket club where all the partners, including Jason Robards, Tom Hanks, are sort of relaxing in these easy chairs in the locker room. And the partners are telling jokes. They're telling, nasty jokes. First one is an anti-woman joke about PMS, and they're all howling with laughter. And then Jason Robards tells this anti-gay joke using the F word, faggot, in case you're not all familiar with that. And they all, again, howl with laughter, and the camera focuses on Tom Hanks' expression, just like he's aghast. You can see the wheels turning in his head. I can never come out to this man. Can never come out to the partners in my firm. That was my experience. It was, overhearing just random jokes on a fairly regular basis, knowing I could never come out to my peers until I was able to muster the courage that I was going to forfeit an entire life if I didn't become my authentic self. So I told that story to Coach Huggins because I felt he needed to hear that. And that's what Fairness West Virginia does, the organization I work for. It's helping to educate public, making sure that people who don't have the exposure that some of us have had, some of us had the luxury of had, get exposed, get to know people, because it's hard to hate what you become familiar with. And a lot of hatred and fear comes from that which we don't know. And that's a great part of the work and the mission of Fairness West Virginia. So I thank you for inviting me to join your service. And I also encourage you to be a part of our organization. I have a sign-up sheet in the other room that's next to the ONIG. And if you would be so kind to put down your information, we can continue to stay in touch, and I can inform you of our work around the state, and we can help to make West Virginia a more inclusive place. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. I could have made your life a whole lot easier about where do you find happiness in West Virginia. Huntington at this congregation, and at Cicada Books, they have bagels imported from New York.
Today.
And they're the best bagels.
Wow, I'll have
in
to
the
check
state,
them out.
so
Thank you.
well done, Scott.
Yeah, thanks.
I could have saved you all that trouble.
Bagels.
Not the bagels, the happiness. That's right here in Huntington.
Yeah, right here.
Dennis agrees.
I agree.
All right, thank you, Andrew. At the ONEG, you'll answer questions, or
Would you want me to answer questions?
at the ONEG if you want to,
Okay.
unless anybody has a pressing question. No. My only thing was when you said that the coach said the F word, I'm thinking, people swear on the radio all the time. I wasn't making the connection. I'm like, boy. Boy. I'm old. All right, page 282 will be, no, Mari.
Kadoosh.
It's Kadoosh time. It's not 282 yet. Time for Kiddush. Vayher vayivoker yom hashishi, vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam, vaychal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa, vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi, vayikadesh oto hivo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzot v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inchid lanu. Zikaron le'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lamikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, Yahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen.
Now, page 282, as we begin closing out our service. Page 282, Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, v'aten kedula li'otzeh breshit, shelo asanu gnoye ha'ratzot, v'lo samanu mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkinu kahem, Negor Aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch. Shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim imav, Ushlinat so, begovim me'rohim, Eloheinu Einu, Eloheinu efesulato, Kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashemota, el panecha. Ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim imal, v'yal haaretz, mitachat einu. Kagatu b'toratecha, Adonai imloch le'olam ha'ed. Ne'emar, Haya Adonai, Lamelech al kol haaretz, Vayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad. You may be seated. This week we observed the following yahrzeits: Robert Bro, Jenny's husband; Adolf Drucker Bro's son, grandson of Adolf C. Bro, Rose Hart's bassist; wife of Morris, Samuel Hart's sister, Maury's great aunt; Anne B. Nemens, mother of Vinnie Beeler; Rena Stern, Coleman's wife, mother of Brenda, Rosalind, Vicky, Janice, and Stephanie; Alfred Greenstein, Miriam's husband, Murray's father; Louis Lerner, Ike's father; Kenneth Levin, Barbara's husband; Ronald K. Rose, brother of Elaine Skoll; Isaac Lewis Sampson, relative of Fred Ziffer; Samuel Kind, Joanne Hitton's brother; Abraham Silverstein, Fred's father, husband of Lena; Adele Boos, Izzy's wife, mother of Stan and Franklin; Sonia Weil, Martin's relative; Victor Wurzer, husband of Millie, father of Sam and Ronnie; Grace Kaplan, Nordy's wife, mother of Jeff, Sean, and Robin, Pauline's sister-in-law; Rudolph Rosenberg, John Rosenberg's father; Leon Seligson, Mary Lee Glazer's father; Julian S. Silberstein, Jack Hyman's cousin; Lou Chertow, Bruce's father; Eddie Hyman, Jack's uncle; Frida Kagan, married to Harold, mother of Scott, Drew, and Brent; Sarah Hassel, Pauline's cousin; Harry Mazzo, relative of Simon; Irving Selig, relative of Manny Berinsky; Philip Selig, relative of Manny Berinsky; Josephine Solocek, Mark's favorite aunt, Sherry's favorite in-law; Shirley Solocek, Mark's mother; Gussie Tesser, Herb's mother. May their souls be bound up with the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 294. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabbah, Ba'almad, Yitrach, Yiritei, Bi'amlik Malchutei, B'chayechon, Bi'omechon, U'chayei, D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, V'barach, V'olam, Olamei Almaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shmei Kudshah, B'richu. Le'elam, Yimkol, V'yachata, V'shirata. Tushbachata, V'nechemata, Da'amiram, Be'alma, V'yimru, Amen. Yehei Shlama, Rabbah, Min Shemaya. L'chaim Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, V'ramav, Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. Before we conclude with Adon Olam, just a couple of quick announcements. Mr. President, do you have them all memorized?
Yes, I think so.
Pretty much the same as last week. If you want.
Still short, so I need a platform.
I might need to sit, so go ahead.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
First, I want to thank Andrew again for coming tonight and speaking. Very good work he's done for the last 20 years. So thank you so much. As a member of the legal community, I can tell you I am truly appreciative. So thank you. So tomorrow, you can sleep late, sleep in till 9, and come down here for the service at 10. Yes, you can sleep late if you get up at 5 or 6 or 7, like I, or even 8. Sunday, we have a service at 9. On Wednesday, if you'd like, we have the Yiddish choir. Is that 7 or 7:30? 7
on Zoom.
On Zoom, the Yiddish choir. I would just like to say again, I'm going to keep promoting this until you tell me to stop, but I am working on the Jewish Cultural Festival that we hope to host next May. please give me a shout out, send me a DM, hit me up. But I want to make this really fun and really good for the community. Now is the time to be active and proud of being Jewish folks. So let me know. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
We completed camp today, 2 weeks of our Camp Keef, and it was highly successful. And I'm already missing the kids, and they've only been gone a couple of hours. So we look forward to next summer already. So thanks to Sophie and Olivia for being our counselors this year. All right, we're going to close out on 321 with Adon Olam, and then we'll go and have our Oneg. And this week's Oneg is sponsored by, are you ready for this? Lisa Ketchum and Sherry Solachek. All right, so and it's a good one. It's a good one. So if you're not here, it's too late. The doors are locked. We're on page 321 with Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'ed Nasa B'chepso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nivra B'yacharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Dora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh V'tifara V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni L'hamshilo L'achbira V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ham Yisra V'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Hedli B'yetzara V'hu Nisi Umanosli Menat Chosi B'yomechra B'yahado Avkid Ruchi B'yethishan B'yahira B'in Ruchi B'yati Adonai Li V'lo Yirah. Ooh, we have lots of people, it seems, saying hello to us on the intertubes this evening. So let's see who they are. Joyce Yaffe, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Joyce. Same to you. There's Mom. Shabbat Shalom to all from Rabbi's Mom and Cliff. Thanks, Mom and Cliff. Wishing all a peaceful weekend and a safe and enjoyable 4th of July. Heather Watts, Shabbat Shalom, and well wishes from Lincoln County. Is that West Virginia?
Wow.
Yes? Okay, Lincoln County. Ooh, should I know this? No. Thank you, Heather. Love the service and hope to visit one day. Well, come and visit. We are open. Donna Wilson, good service. Sorry I cannot be there. Shabbat Shalom to all. Thank you, Donna. Same to you. Hope all is well. All right, friends, we've got lots going on. Big plans for the high holidays coming up. A little over 2.5 months away. I'm telling you, they creep up on you. Lots going on. Come and see us. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a good Shabbos. And please, please be careful out there.
Well done, Rabbi. Thank you.
Yeah, and you be here.